Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. Thank you for tuning in to another Supatease video, and we've got an update to the Dragonflight Alpha. With this update, it is Shamans, and oh my goodness, you are getting a lot of goodies and toys as the Shaman class moving into Dragonflight. I am very excited about this class as a whole, with returning abilities, an expanding toolkit with abilities that were previously unavailable to some of the specializations, now available to the entire class. It's looking like a very entertaining experience to which you're going to be able to customize your character almost entirely. There's such high valuable choices on their talent trees, and I just wanted to cover in this video some of those toys, those goodies, and those talents to get your brain going on what you think is going to be a good option for yourself moving forward into Dragonflight, or to maybe pique your interest in the class as a whole. So in Dragonflight, the talent trees have been broken down into class specific as well as spec specific. In the class talents, this means talents that any spec of Shaman is going to be able to get. So on the first row, we have Chain Heal, Lava Burst, Astral Shift, and Chain Lightning. This does mean that Enhancement Shaman is going to be able to gain access to Lava Burst. And there's some interesting interactions with Maelstrom Weapon not consuming, so you can just spam instant Lava Burst, but I think that that's going to get fixed later on as an alpha bug. Earth Elemental, Wind Shear, and then a talent to empower your Astral Shift, so you'll be able to choose to either make it a stronger cooldown, but it's 2 minutes, or make it stay the same at 1.5 minute cooldowns. So if you know your opponents in PvP have 2-minute timers and you want something that's a bit beefier of a cooldown that's going to rotate with those 2-minute cooldowns, maybe like an Abomination's Limb on a Death Knight, you're going to have that option to customize your character in those situations. Or maybe there's a raid encounter where, you know, it's just not enough with the base damage reduction, you need more. So interesting ways to kind of customize your defense. You're going to have access to Thunderous Paws, which is Ghost Wolf removes snares and increases your movement speed by an additional 25%. So every minute you got like this little big Ghost Wolf sprint. You have the classic Spirit Wolf, which is just stacking up damage reduction. And I think there are going to be builds of Shaman talent points where you're going kind of like full Ghost Wolf to try and run away from melee DPS, similar to Shadowlands. And then of course Chain Lightning off to the side, or sorry, Frost Shock, which you are going to have to talent for. And then Maelstrom Weapon, which you can get as Elemental. I tried this a little bit on the training dummy, and that's how I noticed that Lava Burst doesn't consume Maelstrom Weapon, because you could just keep spamming instant Lava Burst. I ran into the problem of that Lava Burst. I just ran out of Lava Burst, so I couldn't even use the instance, but I really doubt that you're going to be going down on this right side of the tree whatsoever. We have Earth Shield. We have Fire and Ice, which is just passive increase 3% of damage. Capacitator Totem, and your D-Curse. And honestly, with the value of the talents as we go down this wing even more, I've seen a lot of high-ranking Shamans opting just to not even run D-Curse, which could mean as a Warlock player that you're getting away with Curse of Tongues. And I mean, we know how powerful Curse of Tongues is in TBC when there's no D-Curse to remove it. So if Shamans are trying to get greedy without their D-Curse to get some of these high-value talents, Warlocks could be benefiting greatly as a result. Focused Insight, casting Flame Shock reduces the mana cost of your next heal by 20% and increases its healing effectiveness. And there's a really cool Flame Shock build with the talents on the right that you can do that is just absolutely crazy. That's going to also be buffing up your healing now. Elemental Orbit, increase the number of elemental shields you can have active on yourself by 1. So you'd have a Lightning Earth Shield, or you can have an Earth Shield on yourself and an Earth Shield on an ally at the same time for some cleave healing. Spirit Walker's Grace, which you are now going to be able to talent into being an Aura Mastery to immune, silence, and interrupt effects. So no longer are those troublesome days of getting attacked as an elemental shaman and not being able to cast. You can otherwise opt to reduce its cooldown and get even more movement speed if you're not worried about interrupts, but I think that'll be unlikely. Ancestral Defense, honestly lackluster, just random 3% leech avoidance talent. Seems like it's just put there as filler. Tremor Totem, which you will have to talent for, but you can opt to not run when it is not necessary, which means you could get value from other talents. So again, increasing the loadout options. You're going to need a lot of loadouts for Shaman. So if you want to stay up to date with any sort of PvP related guides and stuff like that, and you want to make sure you're getting the best builds, make sure you hit the subscribe button, because there's going to be a lot to talk about. This is just an overview to kind of cover everything, get our brain juices going. We can spec to improve our cap totem so that when it is destroyed or when it fades, you're going to get a second cap totem, or you can get the cooldown reduction talent, which is already existing. I don't know if you'll really have the options much to even go after Cap Totem with how powerful some other talents are, but if you want some sort of AoE stun because there isn't a stun on your team, there's ways to customize it. Hex you're going to have to talent for. Again, sometimes Hex is not going to be useful, so you may not want to run it whatsoever. By having the option to talent out of it means that you can go into something else and get different utility. Now we're moving down to the second row. You're going to be able to get Earth Grab Totem as Elemental, which you didn't previously have a root. This is really powerful in PvP for rooting attackers and getting away from melee DPS, something that you struggled with. And then, of course, the classic Wind Rush Totem. It's not Windwalk Totem, which I originally thought it was when I looked at this, but it's just the sprint talent. Again, a good raid cooldown, but PvP, it's not very useful. Purge, you're going to be able to customize your Purge, so you can get greater Purge, 15-second cooldown, but remove 2 buffs. This can be good as Elemental because you're often running out of mana, so you just get some high value out of the Purge every 15 seconds, or just run the standard Purge, which is only going to remove 1 beneficial effect. You can then empower your Hex to either slow a target by 70% when it ends, kind of useless honestly, or Voodoo Mastery, which is the PvP talent now in your talent tree, reducing the cooldown of your Hex by 10 seconds, so you can be like a mage shaman, and that could be really powerful into teams that have no way to deal with Hex. Nature's Fury, just 4% increased crit chance on your nature spells, giving those Earth Shocks some big crits. Totemic Surge, reducing the cooldown of your totems by 4 seconds. I'm not sure if you're going to have enough talents to fit this in because it's 2 talents for 4 seconds and there's such high value on other ones, but something to think about. Elemental Warding, reduce all damage taken by 6%. Really good mitigation tool in PvP. Again, in PvE, where maybe you don't care about this mitigation, then you can go after some other ones, but in PvP, this is really good for Elemental. Nature's Guardian, which is going to take 2 talent points now to get 20% of HP when you dip below 35% health. Some shamans may be opting to not run this, depends on the pacing of the game, but Nature's Guardian is something you will have to talent for. Then Winds of Alakir increases the movement speed of your Ghost Wolf by 10%, and when you have 3 or more totems active, you just run 15% faster. So really speedy movement speed. And the Ancient Ankh Talisman, which is while Reincarnation is off cooldown, your maximum health is increased by 10%. While you're at full health, Reincarnation cooldowns 75% faster. I'm not sure in what environments you're going to really want to take this, unless maybe there's some sort of mythic keystone, but again, I don't think your intention is to be dying in PvE, so probably not going to be taking this too much. Talents for Healing Stream Totem, improved Lightning Bolt for 20% more Lightning Bolt damage, and there's some interesting things we could do with Lightning Bolt and Stormkeeper now with some talents even deeper down the wings here. We've got Totemic Projection, so you can relocate your totems, and there's a lot of really cool totems that are returning to the game as we get to the bottom, so being able to move them and hide them so enemies can't kill them. You can put a grounding down and then move it behind a pillar. There's some cool stuff you could do with this. And then Gust of Wind, my favorite shaman ability from Legion, which is just the jump forwards, probably because I love Wild Charge as well. Or you can run Spirit Walk, which is going to give you a sprint and move you out of a snare. So that's going to be probably Gust of Wind most of the time because it's such a low cooldown. And then down towards the bottom, Swirling Currents. This is where you can opt in to go any more for healing focused on LA Shaman. Using Healing Stream Totem, it's going to increase the healing of your next 3 healing surges by 12%, but you can buff it up. And then Nature's Swiftness is coming back to all shamans. 1 minute cooldown, make your next healing or damage nature spell instant and cost no mana, so an emergency healing surge or a Stormkeeper. You could use a Nature Swiftness Stormkeeper. Thunderstorm, you're going to have to talent for your knockback. Totemic Focus, increase the radius of your totem effects by 7%, increase the duration of your Earthbind and Earthgrab totems by 5 seconds, increase the duration of your Healing Stream, Mana Spring, and Tremor totems by 1.5 seconds. I'm not sure if you're going to really want to use this too much. Again, it's 2 talent points, and there's such a lot of high value that this minimum value is probably not going to be outweighed by it. Surging Shields increases the damage dealt by Lightning Shield by 50% and causes it to generate an additional 2 Maelstrom untriggered, and increases the healing done by Earth Shield. Having a double Earth Shield with 50% increased healing on it could be some really good cleave healing, and also the Lightning Shield Maelstrom generation is going to be really powerful for our kind of weaving of fire and ice and earth spells when we get to the elemental talent points. Go with the Flow, reduces the cooldown of your Spirit Walk or your Gust of Wind. Again, 5 seconds off the cooldown for 2 talent points is going to be a pretty big gamble, but if you want to be really fast to move around the map, then this is going to be a talent to go for. Mana Spring Totem is returning. It's a 45-second cooldown, and it's going to return 50 mana to party members within 30 yards whenever you cast Lava Burst, so likely some really good utility for raid groups, so that you can come in maybe in the healer group and then drop Mana Spring Totems and try and regenerate people's mana as you're going through and doing DPS, so you're getting some mana utility for your partners. I love spells like this, similar to kind of like the Innervate. Be interesting to see if you can try and fit a way into a PvP build with this, with how insane some of these other talents get. We can talent for Lightning Lasso, which opens up our honor talents, or we can go for Thundershock, which is going to make Thunderstorm knock enemies up instead of away, and its cooldown is going to be reduced by 5 seconds. I haven't seen how far the knock up is yet to know if it's like, is it 40 yards up in the air? Is it some crazy stuff like that. But Lightning Lasso is always really good. Poison Cleansing Totem, I think this is only situationally going to be used in PvE encounters where there's like a boss that has a big poison mechanic that needs constant removal. In PvP with a 45-second cooldown and it taking a talent point, I don't see it being as desirable, but Assassination Rogue does have a lot of poisons, so maybe in those situations. And then Call of the Elements, 3-minute cooldown, resets the cooldown of your most recently used totem with a base cooldown shorter than 3 minutes. So you can reset your Tremor Totem, reset your Mana Spring Totem, or reset the next totem, which we're about to get to, the Tranquil Air Totem. So some powerful cooldown reduction onto your important totem spells. And then Ancestral Guidance, which is a 2-minute cooldown for the next 20 or 10 seconds. 25% of your damage and healing is converted into healing up to 3 injured allies. Ancestral Guidance is really powerful for Enhancement Shaman and Warlords of Draenor. I'm not sure for Elemental though, but maybe with how instant our damage is with Lava Burst proccing and spamming, it could be all right. And then we get to Tranquil Air Totem, 1-minute cooldown totem that is going to remove pushback, so you can just cast without the melee swings, resetting your cast times, and reduce interrupts of all your party members by 50%. So if you can put this totem down, move it away with the projection and hide it, and then maybe reset it and get a couple Tranquil Air Totems down to go with a free casting Destruction Warlock or something like that, could be really fun. Generally in PvE for encounters where there's interrupts, you're generally wanting to avoid them entirely, so I'm not sure if it'll see much use there. And then Stone Skin Totem, which is going to be a 30-second cooldown. Summon a totem at your feet, which reduces physical damage taken by party members within 30 yards by 10%. So things like Fury Warrior and Outlaw Rogue, which maybe could be powerful, getting a 10% damage reduction to assist with your allies could be all right. But again, some of these talents are really high value that it's tough to say. And then Creation Core, Call of the Elements will affect 2 totems now, or you can make it a 2-minute cooldown. So you can see throughout these windows, it's really returning some abilities like Gust of Wind, getting access to Earth Grab, getting Nature's Swiftness, having these options to be like a Purge Shaman or a Hex Shaman, high mobility or high utility, focused on getting your healer mana. Is going to provide you a lot of situations to customize your character and a lot of different loadouts for the Shaman tree. And I'm very excited to see the different builds that people come up with. And this, again, is just an overview to look at all of them. And I'll be going more into specifics in future videos. Now onto the Elemental Shaman tree specifically. We have Earthshock at the top, and towards the right side is focused on fire. Towards the left side is focused on lightning. I would say that the lightning side focuses a lot more on earthquake, chain lightning, so it's probably going to be really good in things like Mythic Plus dungeons, whereas the right side focuses on flame shock, lava bursts, and lava burst procs, which is probably going to be really good in PvP and possibly single target situations. That's all yet to be seen based on tuning, but generally speaking, lava burst builds have been really good in PvP, and they look super fun on this talent tree. So let's get into it. Earthquake, Elemental Fury, which is just buffing up your crit damage to 250%. Fire Elemental, and we'll go down the right wing first. You have the choice between Primordial Bond, which is just 5% reduced damage taken while you have an Elemental out, again bolstering up your defense a lot more, or you can get Healing Surge, is 30% more effective. Might be nice with the Nature Swiftness, but I think having just flat damage reduction is a bit better for Elemental, because if you're stunned, you can't heal. Lava Surge, your flame shock damage or time effects, you're gonna have a chance to reset your Lava Burst, so really important to go after this. 2 charges of your Lava Burst, and then Call of the Fire, which is going to be increasing the damage of your Flame Shock, Lava Burst, all your fire spells by 10%. You can see the theme is focusing on fire damage. And then Imbue Flame Tongue Weapon, so Flame Tongue Weapon getting some value here now, 5% more fire damage. And then Flames of the Cauldron, Flame Shock's damage occurs 15% more quickly. And then the talent that is going to be one of the best talents in PvP, which seems really minor right now, but is actually insane. Flames of the Fire Lord reduces the cooldown of Flame Shock by 3 seconds with 2 talent points. So you can juggle a lot of Flame Shocks. You can punish healers for constantly dispelling by running the Control the Lava PvP talent, which is also going to make your Flame Shock tick 15% more often. So you're just getting a ton of ticks on Flame Shock. Then we move towards the Ascendance. So you have the option to either activate Ascendance or have the proc Ascendance. And I decided to go for the proc one, which is casting Lava Burst as a 7% chance to activate Ascendance. And it's just lobbing out a bunch of instant Lava Bursts all over your opponents. Super fun. And it's one of the most competitive, if not the most competitive build right now in Shadowlands. So I just thought carrying that fun over would be a good idea. And then Oath of the Farce here. While Ascendance is active, you gain 15% additional haste. There's a new honor talent as well for Shaman called Precognition, which is if an interrupt is used on you while you're not casting, so if you fake someone's interrupt, you will get 15% haste and go immune to control effects for 4 seconds. So if you have these proccing on top of each other, 30% haste, faster ticking flame shocks, you are absolutely going to mow down your opponents. It's going to be insane. Further beyond is casting Earthshock or Earthquake will extend this active Ascendance, which I'm assuming can still proc if it happens to still be active. So weaving Earthshocks in with Flame Shocks is going to be really cool with the build. And then Searing Flames. Flame Shock damage has a 100% chance to generate 1 or 2 Maelstroms, so just constantly fueling these Earthshocks to get into more Lava Bursts. You can go for the Skybreaker's Demise to be able to get more critical strikes onto your Flame Shock because they're ticking so fast, causing so many more Lava Bursts. This could be really insane. Honestly, I was ignoring Storm Elemental onto the side here, mostly just because you're not going to be using lightning spells in PvP too much. But Magma Chamber on the bottom, Flame Shock damage increases the damage of your next Earthshock, Elemental Blast, or Earthquake by 0.5%. So again, Flame Shock is ticking really fast, and it's going to be increasing that Earthshock. And then when you Earthshock, it's going to increase your Lava Burst with talents on the left side of the wing. So I was really excited about that. Through the middle, you got some interesting talents with Ancestral Wolf Affinity, Cleanse Spirit, Winch Your Purge, and Totem Cast no longer cancel Ghost Wolf, so you can do like a Purge running build, or you can get Critical Strike healings that are increased by 250%. Again, you don't crit a lot, I think, with your healing, so it might not be that valuable. Master of the Elements. Casting Lava Burst increases the damage or healing of your next nature, physical, or frost spell by 15%. Again, just buffing up that Earthshock to weave into your other spells. It's just going to be really sick. Swelling Maelstrom, just increasing your flat overall Maelstrom, so you could bank a bunch of Earthshocks to chain Earthshock into Lava Burst and Earthshock into Lava Burst, which could be really good burst damage on a single target. Aftershock, Earthshock, and Earthquake have a 25% chance to refund all Maelstrom spent. Again, just giving you more options to weave in your damage. And then Power of the Maelstrom, casting Lava Burst has a 5% chance to cause your next 2 Lightning Bolts or Chain Lightning cast to trigger Elemental Overload an additional time. Wasn't really playing Lightning Bolt builds unless you were going to do like a Stormkeeper, Nature Swiftness Stormkeeper build, but it felt really tough on the training dummies to be able to fit that all together. So this talent's not looking too appealing to me. Echo Chamber. Increase the damage dealt by your elemental overloads. This could be really good, especially with proccing so many different lava burst effects. And then that leads into Mountains Will Fall. Earthshock and Earthquake can trigger your mastery elemental overload at 50% effectiveness, but overload earthquakes do not knock down enemies. Again, really good in terms of kind of PvE for AoE DPS. If it had the knockdown effect, it would be insane in PvP. And there's just so many good talents you can see so far that it's really tough to even to try and figure out which ones to go after, but I think focusing on ones that are oriented to Flame Shock and Earth Shock and weaving those together could be really powerful. Earthquake is going to lead us into Inundate. Your successful Purge, Cleanse, Spirit, Healing Stream Totem, Hex, and Windsure cast generate 8 Maelstrom during combat. And then Tumultuous Fissures increases the chance for your Earthquake to knock enemies down by 50%. Really good for Mythic Plus for just spam stunning mobs on trash pulls. Call of Thunder increases the damage of your Lightning Bolt, Chain Lightning, and Storm Elemental, and you can see how we're leading into more lightning damage on the left side. Curious to see which one comes out on top, even in PvE, whether or not it's lightning or fire. High Voltage, Lightning Bolt generates an additional 2 Maelstrom, and then we finally get into Stormkeeper. And then we've got Ice Fury as an option, which can get into Flux Melting, which is Frost Shock, increases the damage of your Lava Burst. So weaving together kind of fire, ice, and earth for these massive big swells of burst damage, or Electrified Shock, which is Ice Fury causes your Frost Shock damage to damage up to 4 additional enemies, and targets hit take 15% increased damage from nature spells. So with Chain Lightning builds with Stormkeeper and weaving Frost with Lightning, so you can either mix Frost with Lightning or Frost with Fire with this build specifically, which then leads us into Eye of the Storm, which will reduce the Maelstrom cost of Earthshock and Earthquake up to 10. Again, giving you more options to weave in more Earthshocks with that fire build I was talking about. Flash of Lightning, casting Lightning Bolt or Chain Lightning reduces the cooldown of your nature spells by 1 second. Not sure how big this is going to be, but in PvP at least, because casting these spells is really tough to do. And then we've got Elemental Blast, or we can go for the Windspeaker's Lava Resurgence, and I think the Lava Resurgence is a super important one. When you cast Earthshock, gain Lava Surge, which is instant Lava Burst, and increases the damage of your next Lava Burst. And we've already seen how many different passives there are scaling together to buff Lava Burst based on weaving Earthshock, so I think this is a key talent to go after. Then we've got Primordial Wave, so we've still got even more stuff that's like, oh my god, how are we going to get that? We're only level 60 right now in the alpha, but Primordial Wave is the same deal. It's just going to apply a Flame Shock, 45-second cooldown, and will make your next Lava Burst also hit all targets affected by your Flame Shock, so you can get an Earth Shock, Lava Resurgence proc, which will give you instant Lava Burst. You can Primordial Wave when you got Flame Shocks on everybody, pump out a ton of lava bursts, going to be proccing that Ascendance, getting just even more lava bursts flying through the sky. It's going to be insane to be an Ellie Shaman. Then we've got Echoes of the Great Sundering, which is after casting Earthshock, your next Earthquake deals 60% additional damage. Again, in PvE, I think it's going to be really strong, but PvP probably not. And then the final row, we got Stormkeeper a second time. I don't know if that's because they want 2 ways of being able to get into it, or that's not intended. And then Lightning Rod, which is Earthshock and Earthquake cast, have a 100% chance to make your target a Lightning Rod for 8 seconds. Lightning Rods take 25% additional damage from Lightning Bolt and Chain Lightning. So curious to see if possibly Electrified Shocks with Frost Shocks and the big AoE Chain Lightnings on your Lightning Rods could just be kind of zapping everybody down. I'm honestly more attracted right now to the fire builds. Elemental Equilibrium, dealing direct fire, frost, and nature damage within 10 seconds will increase all damage dealt by 7% for 10 seconds. This can only occur once every 30 seconds. It's 2 talent points, again, with how high value everything else is, but if you could weave this together, a fire, frost, and then Earthshock to get lava resurgence, Primordial Wave to then just send a bunch of these lava bursts all out, could be really insane with this, but trying to fit it together is going to be tough. We can buff our Primordial Wave to have a 15% chance not to incur a cooldown, so we can even more chances to get AoE lava bursts, to get even more Ascendance, to get more lava bursts. And then Splintered Elements, which is each additional lava burst generated by Primordial Wave increases your haste by 6%. And we just talked about stacking this 15% haste, stacking this percent haste, getting the haste from Control of the Lava, getting your haste from this new PvP talent. Like, you're basically a bloodlusted elemental shaman running around with roots and a bunch of utility and mobility that you didn't have before. So yeah, I think it's probably a good time to be making a shaman, definitely an elemental shaman here, moving into Dragonflight. So I hope that you enjoyed my overview of the class right now. If you did, please leave the video with a thumbs up. Comment down below with your thoughts. Is this catching your interest in picking up a shaman? Are you going to be maining an elemental moving forward? I know that I feel like I am, and I'm honestly now kind of disappointed in the Boomkin and the Feral Druid talents and even some of the Hunter talents after seeing some of this, because this looks like so much fun that I honestly might move on from those classes. And if you want to stay up to date with content like this, make sure you hit the subscribe button. Thank you very much for watching, and I will catch you in the next video.